All right, guys. So for as much as the mainstream liberal media wants to lie to you about the biggest threats to this country domestically, right? They'll tell you it's white supremacy. Guys, I tell you the truth, right? I just call it like I see it. It is actually woke supremacy is the biggest threat to this country from a domestic standpoint. And I'm going to talk a lot more about woke supremacy today, as we have a whole lot of actual real news to talk about today, right? But this story, I want to talk about what I feel to be a part of the woke supremacy threat in this country, which is the progressive criminal justice reform policies, aka the soft on crime policies that are being pushed by these George Soros backed progressive DAs across the country in these liberal cities that are currently crime infested hellholes, right? And the honest to God truth is that we need another crime bill, okay? Maybe that's controversial for a black person to say, but that's the honest to God truth, because a lot of black people actually supported Joe Biden and his crime bill back during the 90s. What people complain about in regards to Joe Biden and, locking up black people, what they're actually really complaining about is the drug bills from Joe Biden back in the 1980s, okay? The crime bill in and of itself, in my opinion, it probably was more of a good thing. It actually worked, okay? And if I was Joe, I would be drafting up another one, right? If you really want to win in the midterms, the Democrats want to save themselves, they need to bring Crime Bill Joe back, okay? I'm just keeping it all the way 100, because these cities are out of control. They just are, and the residents know it, okay? And proof is in the pudding, because they have just recalled one of the most progressive DAs in one of the most progressive cities in the country, as the San Francisco DA has been recalled, right? Yes, that's right. The woke revolutionaries of San Francisco have said, you know what? This criminal justice reform stuff, the progressive criminal justice reform stuff, this ain't working out, right? This soft on crime policies, you basically letting criminals run our city, we don't really like this, right? We don't like getting our cars jacked in broad daylight, right? We don't like CVS's getting looted in broad daylight, right? We don't like all that stuff. You guys remember the stuff that we've seen, okay, coming out of San Francisco in the Bay Area. It's madness, absolute madness. So with that being said, again, this is a massive loss for not just George Soros, who again is funding a lot of these DAs, him and his liberal friends and super PACs and all that other stuff, but it's a massive loss for Democrats who have embraced progressive criminal justice reform. So with that being said, I want to talk about that. But before we get into that, I want to go ahead and play this clip about this recall so that you guys can learn a little bit more about what's going on here, and then we'll get into it. Take a look.
Race being watched in San Francisco and beyond. Voters choosing to recall San Francisco District Attorney Chesa Boudin. Here's a look at the results. 60% saying yes, while 40% saying no. KTVU's Amber Lee has been monitoring this race, and she joins us live now from San Francisco, where Boudin's camp has gathered. Amber.
Julie, we're at the ramp. It's an outdoor venue here in the Mission Bay neighborhood. The DA just finished speaking just a few minutes ago. He did not officially concede, but did say he's just getting started. He said this is not a moment, but a movement.
People are angry. They're frustrated. And I want to be very clear about what happened tonight. The right-wing billionaires outspent us 3-1. They exploited an environment in which people are appropriately upset. And they created an electoral dynamic where we were literally shadow boxing. Voters were not asked to choose between criminal justice reform and something else. They were given an opportunity to voice their frustration and their outrage, and they took that opportunity.
We now go to the Marina District to Del Mar Bar, where the Recall Chesa Boudin campaign is celebrating. They say this is a moment that comes after a lot of hard work. Volunteers tell me they joined that campaign because they simply did not feel safe. They say this win will make them feel safer. They're more optimistic about the future. Now, going back to the DA, he did not say whether he plans to run this November, but he did tell me in a one-on-one interview earlier that he does plan to run in November of next year. That is the latest from here. Julie, Mike?
And Amber, did you get a sense from the crowd there tonight whether or not they want Chesa Boudin to actually run this coming November?
Absolutely. There's a lot of enthusiasm in this crowd. They were chanting along with him, and they say they are with him 100%. He was introduced by Supervisor Hillary Ronan, who's been a longtime supporter. They say this is only the beginning. They're going to fight for criminal justice reform.
And Amber, what happens now? What's next? Does Mayor London Breed select someone to be DA until the next election?
That's right, Julie. So let me explain. It's a two-step process. The Department of Elections Director, John Arns, tells me he has to certify the vote, and he hopes to be able to do that by the time the Board of Supervisors meeting that's scheduled for June 28th. If he gets that in time, then after that, the Board of Supervisors in that meeting declares the results, and then the mayor cannot appoint anyone any earlier than 10 days from that. And if you do the count, that's July. That brings us to July 8th. So if everything goes as planned, then the Chesa Boudin will be out of office and a new DA will be in office by early July.
All right, Amber Lee reporting live there in San Francisco. Thank you.
I want to read to you what Chesa Boudin said about why people are upset about crime in the city. He said part of it is a tremendous amount of understandable frustration and anxiety that people have felt in the context of COVID. Uncertainty about the direction of our country is headed, anger at the Trump administration, and misinformation that administration fueled on everything from public safety to vaccine.
Yeah, so if you listen to that guy, he blames everybody except himself and his soft on crime policies for why he got ousted, right? He says, oh, no. Well, it's the right-wing billionaires. As if you don't have a left-wing billionaire, George Soros, backing you, right? It's a lot right-wing billionaires, right? That's the problem. Again, I love it how every time progressives lose, they always blame the billionaires, right? It's the billionaires' fault, right? When you're backed by billionaires, okay? He says, well, it's COVID. It's misinformation from the Trump administration. What does COVID have to do with you losing your job as DA? What does COVID have to do with crime, right? What does COVID got to do with it? And what does Trump have to do with it, right? Trump is out of office. Trump has nothing to do with what's going on in San Francisco right now. The man's not in office. Again, those are excuses you make, guys, when you don't want to point the finger at yourself, when you don't want to take responsibility. But again, this is par for the course when it comes to woke progressives who never want to take responsibility. Everything is the white man's fault, right? And in this case, the white man didn't want to blame the white man himself. Again, this is the first time I've ever seen Democrats not blame the white man, right? But again, this guy, when he campaigned for this job back in 2019, he ran on trying to decriminalize poverty and homelessness, okay, by promising not to prosecute what woke revolutionaries call quality of life crimes, such as homeless camps, prostitution, obstructing sidewalks, or public urination. And my opinion on that is this. Look, I definitely understand not wanting to, lock up people for non-violent crimes. I get that. I understand that. But you got to understand that there's a balance here, okay? You can't have people urinating in public on sidewalks. You can't have homeless camps everywhere. You can't have whores prostituting on the streets, right? If you're going to allow certain things, again, like prostitution, it has to be behind closed doors, right? It probably should be taxed and regulated, right? If you're going to not prosecute, if you're not going to do anything about it. What you can't have is this happening on the streets, right? Because again, I definitely think there's an argument to be made that, yeah, people shouldn't be locked up in cages for smoking a blunt, right? I think that most reasonable people can agree with that. However, I think where the disagreement comes is that you're trying to take all these crimes, right? All these crimes that seem to be minor, and you're saying, oh, well, let's just not do anything about it. When it's like these things add up. When you have a bunch of stuff that's just allowed on the streets, That's how you have lawlessness, right? And these people that are committing these crimes, they tend to commit other crimes as well, right? They tend to live a life of being a criminal, right? So if you're not locking them up and prosecuting them for these small crimes, that just incentivizes them to commit bigger crimes, right? This dude also ended cash bail, which is one of his first official acts, which we absolutely know these soft bail policies from the Democrats. Again, one of the most destructive policies in this country. Okay, because what will happen is that you'll see these smash and grabs going on in San Francisco. You'll see these thefts, these robberies. If these guys get caught, big if, what happens is that they may or may not get arrested, right? And the reason why they may or may not get arrested is because some police probably feel like, well, if we arrest them, they may or may not be charged, right? And they may or may not be prosecuted. And we throw them in jail and they're just going to get out on bail anyways. And then they're going to turn around when they're out on bail and go commit another crime. So it's almost pointless to arrest them and to lock them up, right? Because they've essentially legalized these crimes, right? They've legalized these small crimes. And how has that worked out for San Francisco, right? In 2021, well, homicides are up 36% from 2019. Over 222 people were wounded or killed by gun violence in that city, compared to 131 from 2019. Motor vehicle thefts are up 36%. Arson is up 40%. Larceny is up 20%. All compared to 2019, right? This was last year. So I want y'all to understand what this woke DA is telling us is that, well, it's not that. It's not the statistics. It's not the facts, right? It's not the facts. As the reason why residents are voting me out or they're kicking me out of office. No, it's not that. It's Trump, right? It's COVID. It's the right-wing billionaires. It's misinformation. Again, these people don't have the ability to self-reflect, okay? And this is not the only city this is going on in. Again, it's going on in all these liberal cities across the country. And there are probably going to be some more woke, progressive, Soros-backed DAs that are going to get the boot here, as there's this incident that happened in Los Angeles, again, a city in California that is suffering from the same things that San Francisco is suffering from here. There was an incident in which a teenager rammed a car into a mother and an infant child. He was on probation at the time because he tried to poison a girl. Okay, he spiked the girl's drink, which sent her to the hospital. He actually was successful at poisoning the girl. And the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office is basically declining to charge the teenager with assault with a deadly weapon or attempted murder. Okay, so they're declining to give him actual real serious charges that are going to result in him doing some hard time. Again, a guy with an extensive criminal record. Okay, and they're not trying to give him these more serious charges because, well, we want to rehabilitate young people. We want to rehabilitate him. Okay, as if somebody that is spiking women's drinks and trying to run over mothers with their infants can really be rehabilitated, right? Again, I believe in rehabilitation, but there's some people out there that just can't be helped, right? They just probably should be behind a cage for the rest of their life. I'm just keeping it 100. So let's read a little bit about this. The Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office declined to charge the teenager with assault with a deadly weapon or attempted murder, and sources tells Fox News that the decision was made in accordance with Gascon's policies. Progressive Los Angeles County District Attorney George Gascon's first statement on the incident provided to Fox News Digital said the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department agreed with the charges and sentencing, but that was later walked back after Los Angeles Sheriff Alex Villanueva called out Gascon. Quote, fortunately, the baby was uninjured and the mother received a laceration to her elbow, his office initially told Fox News Digital Friday. The Sheriff's Department agreed with the felony charges that were filed. At arraignment, the minor admitted 2 felony counts of assault by means of force, likely to produce great bodily injury, and 1 felony count of hit and run. The probation department recommended and the court sentenced the minor to a youth camp for 5 to 7 months, an appropriate resolution. The statement added that juvenile justice is intended to rehabilitate young people. So I want y'all to understand, this guy, in my opinion, could have attempted to murder this person. Okay, just like what happened to the guy that tried to attack Dave Chappelle. But the progressive DA says, well, let's not give him some serious charges, even though this guy has extensive criminal history, right? That he tried to poison a girl, okay? Trying to run over infants, okay? No. We're going to give him charges that is going to result in him going to youth camp, where they think that, in 5 to 7 months, magically he's going to come out and be a better person. Again, I'm not saying it's not possible, but I got a gut feeling, and I hope my gut feeling is wrong here, that this person will get out of that camp. He probably won't even be there that long, right, if he even goes. And he'll be a career criminal. He'll be back on the streets committing more violent acts. And, this could lead to people getting killed, right, losing their lives. But hey, they're not the ones suffering the consequences, the woke DAs, right, and the prosecutors. Quote, in this case, this team will be held accountable for his actions and receive the needed services to foster positive development to keep him from committing future offenses, the statement read. On Saturday, Gascon's office corrected their initial statement, saying that the sheriff's office was not involved in the charging decision. So they lied about the sheriff's office being involved. Why is that? Because they didn't want to be the only ones to justify them giving this teenager these soft charges, right? But my point is this, is that it's stuff like that that's going to lead to progressive DAs like this guy eventually getting kicked out of Los Angeles as well too, right? Just like the woke DA in San Francisco, okay? Because again, normal, regular, everyday law-abiding citizens are fed up with this stuff, man. They're fed up with these Democrats, not just running the federal government, but also running these state and local governments, right? They're fed up with Democrats in general. Their policies are destructive and they are destroying this country. That's what's happening. So, like I said, man, again, the writing's on the wall for the Democrats, man. This is bad sign for them that one of their progressive DAs from one of the most progressive liberal cities in the country got kicked to the curb by the citizens, which, again, is a bad sign for them come to midterms, right? And the reckoning that's probably about to happen to their party. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.